Yo, 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 what's happening, everybody? It is a special edition of Reasonable Wrestling. We're about to have a brother talk here. Still joint rely. I told him my brother,
A little
CT Chili.
brother.
What's happening? What's happening?
Just here with my brother and me talking. We just talking about just brother talk, just we had a pretty deep conversation about yesterday's or well, let's talk about Swerve and Booker T's con- conversation, I guess, of their comments about one another. Yesterday Booker T had a live where he, talked about Swerve, and it all stems from Swerve's. Let's go back to his Breakfast Club interview, where Swerve said that there is some kind of they don't treat black talent as fair, put it that way,
Correct.
and that led to Booker T on then his podcast say that from his perspective, he doesn't want to hear about the race thing anymore in WWE, and that he has been treated fairly his entire 20 years. And what about, Kofi Kingston? He doesn't get that without working hard and all that stuff. And then little do we know, Swerve still had more interviews. So Swerve ends up on Vlad TV of all places. Good old Vlad TV. I haven't
So,
watched that nigga in like 4 years. But he ends up on Vlad. But I watched it for Swerve because we've been associated with him, and obviously he's an AEW former world champion, and he's black, and I support his journey as a fellow black man in the world succeeding, especially in a predominantly white dominated sport or genre. And I want to see what he had to say on his career. I learned a lot about him, but at one point in the interview, Vlad asked Floor about Booker T's comments about there not being racism and that he's been treated fairly his 20 years. And Swerve says, um,
let me get it. Let me see if I
what's
get it.
I don't want to misquote him.
Let
If you
me
can
let me
find
see.
it.
Let me see if I can. Because all I could find was all without the commentary of other people. I couldn't find nothing but the
Okay.
long ass Vlad
Well,
TV
to make
clip.
a long story short, he
Hold
says
on,
that.
let me go to Swerve Vlad. He
You want
said
me
that about the race. Oh, he wanted to, specifically about mother, specifically about Booker T. He said, "Were you treated fairly?" To paraphrase, when Vince said the N word, and I think I may have it in this Booker T clip right here. Let me see if I got it right here.
Clear in the air as far as Swerve Strickland. Okay. And me personally, what's your thoughts?
I feel like for our audience, our radio audience and YouTube and podcast audience who might not have heard what is exactly going on, Swerve Strickland was interviewed on Vlad TV, and there was a clip that started floating around the internet. And Book, I mean, I think fair is fair. Putting it in context would be great. Can I play the clip?
Yeah.
Is that fine?
Mhm.
Okay, so this is Booker. This is the clip from Swerve Strickland's interview with Vlad TV. So it says Swerve responds.
For the company for a long time, and I know I've been treated fair for the last 20 years.
That's not what happened when Vince said the N-word in front of you. That's not being treated fair, my opinion. And to that statement, it's not even what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. What people are saying. I'm saying what your audience is saying.
Now, our argument came from there.
Yeah.
Our argument
Our heated debate.
Our heated debate came from not what Booker and Swerve were saying. It's about what they were talking about. Now, for everyone who may not know what Swerve is talking about when he says Vince said the N-word, it is a infamous, it can't say famous, but it's an infamous backstage segment. Vince was ECW champion, I believe, at the time. wearing do-rags and he was feuding with.
I don't even think he was. I think it was just
You
regular.
don't think? Okay.
You're saying,
You
nigga.
know, it was around the time he was wearing a do-rag and was being champion. I do remember, and I don't know why he was trying. I don't know why he was trying to be black. I honestly, and I think that's what's grinding the gears of cheating. And we will argue. He was like, "You defending that, nigga?" I'm like, "I'm not defending that." But
no, I'm looking at it right now. He wasn't wearing a do-rag. It was regular ass Vince. I think it might have been before he shaved his head. This is before he shaved his head.
Okay. So I'm damn. So Vince was out here perpetrating caricatures. But to the point of him saying, "What's up, my nigga?" Vince said, walked past Booker T and said, "What's up, my nigga?"
He said something. He said it to John Cena, and Booker T's like, "You caught it. He's in the shot."
Said it to John Cena.
He did not just say that. They moved on.
Correct. Yeah. Why would he say that? Has been the topic of conversation for a long time. What was the point of him saying that? There is no need for him to say that. And ain't no argument for that. I think the argument to what Swerve now is kind of jabbing at Booker is you took that.
Okay, I disagree with that. This is my interpretation.
Okay.
Because we just saw what Swerve just said. He said, "That's not fair, in my opinion." And what I keep saying is that he didn't call out Booker T in this clip. This is more of a call out of the company saying that, yo, to say that in front of a black man is not fair. That's not cool, bro. So that's what I think he meant here. He's not saying nothing about Booker T. Maybe Booker T thought that was, funny, or it was comedic, or was just a skit. Booker T, even in this whole podcast, which I watched, and I was in the chat going crazy and talking my shit because I was like, let's be real. Nobody's standing up for Swerve. Everybody's just, giving Booker his grace because it's Booker T. And to be honest, this is not about Booker T. I love Booker T. I love Swerve as a performer. And I do believe that both of them should understand that you can be two black men and have two different perspectives on a situation that happened. I think Booker T got sensitive and took it personal because it did happen. Vince said nigga in front of him and it was okay. Maybe he looking at it like, oh, that was a long time ago. It was a different time. Didn't say that. But what Booker T says is, I've been treated fairly my entire 20 years. And maybe that was fair to him. But just like Swerve said, in his opinion, it was not fair. Why is that such a bad thing to say? Because it's not like it's almost as if we can't bring it up, or else Booker T is gonna get mad.
I think to further context of what Booker T said is like, you have aspirations to be in Hollywood, correct? He is currently in the music industry, right? The Good Old Boys Club extends past wrestling. The being uncomfortable in a situation and having to take something that is unjust or unfair to you in order for you to bypass it to get to the next step is going to be in every, and I'm not saying that we have to accept it, which is not the argument that I'm trying to approach. What I am saying is that when it is defended upon the person who went through the injustice, right, your opinion is invalidated on a perspective of if it's fair or not. Because when you said just like that, the question is, was it fair to you? If Booker says, I've been treated fairly for 20 years, then it was fair to him. Now, we're talking about the aspect of the satire in itself. And that's the larger nuanced conversation that I wanted to get involved with, because in the aspect of comedy or satire, in a frame, in a time capsule or a time frame of things where it was happening, John Cena will be considered a caricature of black culture. Not to the extent of saying nigga, but jean
But
shorts.
there's also like at the time Eminem, just because you rap, I mean, it was a rapping gimmick. There are white people who can rap. It's white people, So to me,
Right.
it's not like
But white
he's a
people who can
caricature
rap
of
and
black.
but I'm sorry, but white people but to your point, Eminem to the movie of 8 Mile in itself, right? He had to go outside of himself and say, I'm not being a caricature of you guys in this space. Right?
He's
Because
an
I know
all-around.
how you guys are going to look at it. Right? So to my point of the white people in black culture, Eminem did it one way and Vince did it another way.
Eminem, I don't look at it as a character or adopting a culture. I think Eminem genuinely is a man who likes to rap and is a part of hip hop culture. It's not a black thing. Saying the N-word, if Eminem were to come out his mouth and say the N-word, I would have an issue with it.
Well, hip hop is black culture. That's what that's the larger nuance.
Hip hop is black culture, but it's not exclusively just black. There's so many people that have been a part of hip hop culture that are not black.
Well, and that's the nuance. So that goes back to the nuanced conversation we were having in the group chat, right? Wrestling is not exclusively white, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, the gatekeepers of wrestling are white. So therefore, those people get to pick and choose who kind of, and that's the correlation piece of what I'm saying about hip hop, right? Black people, they're the black gatekeepers of hip hop.
They get to set the boundaries of what they accept on their show, and it's not a debate on what but at the same time, as a black man in an industry, if I'm at my job, I'm getting paid to be there. I want to move up. I want to get a promotion. I'm going to work my ass off, and I'm never getting that promotion. Fine. I'll just work until one day maybe they give me that promotion. Cool. I'll keep it up. Even though this white dude that was hired 2 years after me, he got a promotion. Cool. I'm going to keep working. That's, I think, what we're getting to. And then also on top of that, oh, guess what? I'm working, and I should accept the boss saying nigga as a joke. Is all this fair? I think that's the conversation. And I think that even though he is the gatekeeper, it's still unacceptable. I'm still able to come here and reflectively say that in hindsight and say, wow, that moment maybe shouldn't have happened. And what Booker T fails to do, and I love Booker T, this is not a shot at him, but he fails to take a stand on that moment. He keeps on sweeping it under the rug. He never says, yo, I was okay with that moment because I looked at it as satire and that's it. He also is not saying, hey, I wasn't comfortable with it, but it happened, and I don't condone that anymore. I don't think that's the way to go about things. What he says is, guys, I hope that you are not on that set of a Hollywood set where they say the N-word. That's very defensive and deflective of that moment. We're not talking about Swerve potentially being on a Hollywood set because this hasn't happened where somebody called him a nigga on set. That actually happened, and I think Swerve has a valid opinion on that, and he spoke it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I didn't. But that's nobody's saying anything wrong with it. When Booker T refutes and say, okay, if you ask me, we have marital stuff I have marital stuff all the time. I say it's not fair. You tell me so fucking what? You do. You tell me I'm a husband,
but it isn't. But if it's not fair, we can still say it's not fair. Like, I mean,
but at the end of the day,
doesn't mean that you don't want to go back and do your work. I mean, Swerve has an opportunity to find a way to make his money and still wrestle, which he did. He found a way in AEW. It's not like, and
but if I were, but on the flip side of that, so what I'm saying is, if you were to deem what I was going through unfair through your prism, and I say it's just, you having an opinion on that means what? That's what I'm saying.
It's just my opinion, it doesn't mean that you gotta then come back and say, yo, you got a problem with me because you think it's unfair. No, you shouldn't, because no, it's just my opinion.
Well, I think that and so
no, because you did some fuck shit 20 years ago doesn't mean that I don't fuck with you. It means that happened. It's a fact. And bringing it up doesn't mean that I'm taking a shit on you. I'm just bringing up my explanation to this guy of what I'm talking about when I talk about unjust behavior in wrestling.
But see, this is example. But no, okay, and that's where, and so I get frustrated, and this is why I say I get frustrated with you when you hit me on a joint and you be like, "Oh, don't do. Oh, I hate when people make connection points and correlations." The more unjust thing for Booker T is WrestleMania 19. Because what I'm saying, the reason why we say
The nigga?
it's if we and this is why this is a debate show. Like if this was a ticker, if you had to choose which one is more egregious, how they treated WrestleMania 19 or that backstage satire comedy skit, which one do you weigh more heavily as egregious?
But my thing is, it's
As
a both.
unfair.
They're both.
As
My thing is, they're both an example of what Swerve is saying.
No,
So
but Booker T spoke
it
on
doesn't really matter
no,
which one's more,
but Booker T spoke on one and didn't speak on the other. Booker T
because he makes
spoke on
excuses
one,
for both of them.
but
He's done that.
But what I'm okay, if I'm speaking on some, okay, if you're speaking on my situation and asking on, if you're speaking it from your prism, if it were me, that's what I'm hearing it from, right? You can't strip away from that because it was me that you're talking about, and I went through it this way. You're speaking on it like if it was me, okay. So that's what we're saying.
He also said, in my opinion, that wasn't fair. We already know Booker T's opinion on it. His opinion is he's gonna deal with it. And honestly, I think it's a very honorable thing. I think it's an old school way of doing things of like, you know what, I'm not gonna bump any system. I'm not gonna, this is my script. I'm gonna do what they tell me. If I'm gonna go sit down and take a pedigree and wait for 4 minutes for it to get pinned, I'll do it. If I'm gonna have Vince say nigga in front of my face for comedy that he thinks is funny, that's really not funny, I'll do it. That's his mindset. Hey, that's how he believes it. He should stand on that and rock with it. There are a lot of black people that did not fucking like that, and they have a voice, and it's okay for them to feel that way. And Swerve is one of those people, and it's not just him. We are one of those people too. We both don't fuck with that.
But this is
I think that was his point. I think that was his point.
But now when I make so this is not to poke at anyone. I just look for consistency throughout because if there is going, and I'm gonna use Swerve because when I use the Tarantino thing, and I'm just gonna put this out for people to hear it.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it's fine.
Tarantino as a script writer, and it's not just Django. That nigga loves saying nigga a lot. See, he like just typing the word. He like typing the word. The NIGGA, he like typing it. And
a lot of it is Samuel Jackson, even though it's not Django. A lot of it is Samuel Jackson. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
That's right. But also and I had compared Vince to Quentin Tarantino in the aspect of when Tarantino writes himself into the script to be a love interest of Selma Hayek. Selma Hayek might be like Booker T, like, this nigga did not just, and you have to do it. And when it spoke upon about it, and like, oh, I would have never shown
in hindsight, we look at that as creepy still.
If
Selma Hayek were to do a Vlad interview, she'd be like, yeah, I thought that was a little creepy. She could do something like that now. Well, let's say it's not even Selma Hayek. Maybe somebody else on set came and did that Vlad interview. Like, yeah, I remember when I saw that shit. That shit was weird.
That shit was creepy.
So Selma Hayek come out and say no. Like, I was okay with it. Who cares? That's what other people felt like,
So hearing you say that goes back to why I fight with you as my brother, and I screamed at you about hypocrisy. Because when you say that when something is said and the reception of it causes a reaction, an opinion, or whatever, you on the other end, when we speak, can't say, I just said it and don't think so deep about it, or I did not. Because
I always explain myself to you that. It's not like I just say shit like, fucking take it. No, I'm like, this is exactly what I mean when I say this. And now, I granted, I say things and I become off condescending sometimes. People tell me this all the time. I learned that I can't help some of the way I sound sometimes. And I'm cool with that. I've accepted that about myself. But what I can control is how I reinterpret myself to people, how I clarify myself to people, how I make sure they know my intentions. I can control all of that. because I'm not going to take the bite out of what I say, because I will take out who I am to some degree. Because sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it works.
Absolutely,
Sometimes
absolutely.
who I am.
You talking to a nigga that need to say fuck just saying it.
You screamed at me a couple of times where I'm like, what is this nigga on? Like, I'm like, you know what? That's just Chris. Let me just rock with it, bro. Like, clearly, that's how he communicate. Then we talk and we clarify. I'm like, all right, cool. I get where you're coming from, And I try to give the grace in that. And when I go back and listen to what Swerve said, and I see the reaction from Booker, I'm like, that. I don't think Booker's reaction was warranted. I don't. And this is just on face value of what he said. This is not saying that Booker she shouldn't have felt offended, but I don't think that if you look at just what he said, it wasn't like he called Booker out his name. It wasn't like he disrespected him. He just brought up a fact that happened. The fact of the matter is, when it comes to the race issue in WWE, he works for them. He always tries to take the side of, why are we still talking about this? When people have an issue, they have an issue. Why can't he hear that and like give it some kind of like ear of like, okay, what are they talking about? Maybe just take some patience with it, because other people might have an issue that might not be perfect when it comes to black men in WWE. Maybe you don't know everything that's going on. Maybe your experience is just one experience. And I think as you get older, you can get a little bit detached because you've been so successful that, everybody can do it. But no, there's probably people who've worked a lot harder or just as hard as you and still didn't get half as far. So that's what I'm trying to say when it comes to the whole situation. I think that Booker, and I love Booker T, bro. It's not like to knock him, but I do think that he has a different way of looking at things, which I respect, because it does get you further if you just do the work and just shut up. But I also think that some of these things need to be talked about sometimes.
And that's not, and to my point, that's not to be shut out, right? And I think when I sent it, he was like, I seen this already, and then he was like, well, I have a point, and I never disagreed with the point that Swerve shouldn't have an opinion on it. I think that my pushback is that, well, if you have an opinion on it, then it's only your right of having an opinion on something that I went through. I should be able to have and I should be able to have an opinion on that. And we get into now the layers of that. And so
yeah, I get it. And I think that Booker can respond, but the way he did it was on some contentious shit. It wasn't like the OG who's like, listen, guys, this is what I saw, this is what I went through, and this is why I believe what I did wasn't so bad. It wasn't like he explained himself. It wasn't like trying to hear what Swerve was getting at. He was just dismissing Swerve. The first time he dismissed him on the race shit, the second time he doubled down and dismissed him.
Well, do you have a problem with Booker T saying that we should get away from race? Because our big topic of meritocracy
opinions on it, where I'm like, you know what, guys, maybe sometimes the conversations are a little bit too much. Because even when they can, why isn't Carmelo Hayes like treated like Bron Breakker? I'm like, guys, chill out. Bron, he's still new, he's still growing. He doesn't have the presence of Bron Breakker because he's a little smaller guy. It might take him a little bit more time, and it doesn't take away anything from his talent. But that's just the history of wrestling. I don't see any smaller guy getting pushed to the main event above Carmelo right now. Like Andrade's not getting pushed like that. Even Finn, he's not getting pushed like that. We're just in that era where we're not pushing that guy. They're going to have to overcome some odds to get that push to the main event or to be seen in that facet. Braun has that size, that speed, and that presence that can give him that little bit of luck. So when people say that kind of stuff, I'm like, all right, guys, it's not always about the race thing. But when I hear things like what MVP is talking about, when I hear things about the situation with the Hurt Business, I then think, what was that all about? And then when I see that they've let them go, the Hurt Business, and they have no black men on the roster to represent in the top of the card, it does look a little funny to me. Then they're not on PLEs back to back to back. It looks a little funny. And I think that's what Swerve is talking about. If Swerve was in WWE till this day, would he be where he's at in AEW? I don't think so. I think he would have been having a real steep climb to that part. I think even though we've seen all the stuff he can do and deserve it, I think that's the kind of thing we're trying he's getting at. And
Now,
maybe he didn't say it the right way, but to get people to understand it. But I think that's the key of what that's what I took from it. Maybe I don't know.
no, and that's valid and that's respectable. Now, this is the big thing, though, right? So, would Swerve have succeeded in WWE the way he has in AEW? I don't know.
I don't believe Swerve would have been given the opportunity to do the things he's doing in AEW at the magnitude that he is, which is fine. But you know, when it's one thing, it's like you say, all right, we got to let go of Hit Row. All right, cool, business and all that stuff. It happens. But then when you let go of your top black act in the Hurt Business, or you dismantle it, then let go of all of them. I'm like, damn, bro, like you don't even have any respect for people who look like us and how we represent if they're not, a female who looks good on TV, if she's not selling sex appeal. And, like that's how it feels like, oh, black people can only be now in that space if they're only the women, that look good, and they're doing great. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But I do think that
what is Lashley doing in AEW that he could have been doing in WWE? Because he's a tag guy right now, and he's in Big Bill's face. So my thing is that
I think he would have been better in WWE, honestly.
Correct. I'm not
like I didn't understand that. I still don't.
But I think now here we go, right? We used to strive to be more pro-black and seek out black talent to scout and watch and look out for and everything like that until it became scarce to do so on the magnitude of who competes with who. I believe that Darius Lockhart is better than Daniel Garcia. I believe if they were swap places, he's good to go. I think Lee Moriarty can be the same type of lackey that Wheeler Yuta is, right? I believe that we're going to see Ricky Starks win the North American Championship, hopefully. Oh, please, God, take that from Shawn Spears, right? But we got Javon Evans, we got Wesley, we got Trick Williams, we got Obafemi. Where else is the talent? Right? Goes back to like black quarterbacks.
I mean, they fired them. They let him go. Like they let Bobby go. They let Cedric Alexander go.
Okay, we can say those.
Let MVP go.
Those three, right?
They who else? I don't know. Somebody I'm missing. Shelton. That's who it was. So
Shelton MVP. Cedric.
Now we have to take the young talent and push them to the moon. So I keep going back to this. When Obafemi gets to the main roster, we'll see.
Because do you not believe in Trick though?
I believe in Trick, but
Trick, did they not do Mill with Carmelo?
Listen, I believe in Trick. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I believe in Trick.
Okay.
Obafemi is such a
he Braun Breaker.
He is so exactly.
He's Braun Breaker now.
Trick, I can see them using him as a comedy because he's so good with that. I can see him being a tag team. I can see him being in the mid card. I don't see him being shot to the main event. I don't see him being dominant every single week on Raw on SmackDown.
You see Braun as Intercontinental Champion coming in, challenging, being in that.
He has it's like there's like a model of the Brock Lesnar types. That's like where Oba is. Where
you taking Oba over Will Hobbs?
Huh?
You taking Oba over Will Hobbs?
Yes, I'm taking Oba over Will Hobbs. I like Will Hobbs a lot too. I'm not wrong, but
you taking Oba over Ricky Starks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ricky Starks is great on the mic. Don't get me wrong, but Oba has a presence on the mic as well.
That's what I'm saying. there is a scarcity of black talent. Hold on now. There's a scarcity of black talent that we as black men identify and say. Now we talk about merit, nigga. Now that's a big talk. Now I can be a nigga's guy and the nigga can shoot me to the moon, but we talk about niggas that we can see that just got it.
Where's Omos, by the way? You know, like shit like that. Just be like, I'd be thinking like, wait, where's
Japan? He did the Japan.
I know he's in Japan, but like that was an intentional. Let's put him in the background. You know, like
was it intentional to put him in the background, or was it intentional that this guy can't work? Because I would hear Jim Cornette say he's the motherfucker that they would send to Kentucky for goddamn 2 years, like they did with the Big Show, and say learn how to goddamn do a ring hold. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe that's fair.
Because what I'm saying is
where's Apollo Crews?
How much? I'm now. Come on now. We didn't see an Apollo. Is he ready? Is he ready?
I'm just saying.
He Ricochet-esque. He got
I think Apollo. I think Apollo needs to find his voice. I think that's what it is. But you know, we have guys that have taken the back seat that haven't found their voice, like what's his name? Austin Theory. I think he needs to find his voice too. So I can't say that just because he's black. There's certain people that are like, yeah, you just need to get that time to find your voice. But is he getting the opportunities? And maybe he is. Maybe I don't know. You know.
So when Booker's that, and I think this is the nuance, pick apart of the conversation, rabbit hole thing. When Booker's saying, "Can we get away from the race thing?" Once, because we started the podcast in 2018. Bobby was still showing his ass. He was not world championship material at that point. Mm-hmm. We go from full circle of Bobby showing his ass, not being world champion, to being world champion. We don't get the Bobby Brock, then Bobby leaves. So we done seen the whole cycle. Yeah. Is it because of race? Is it because of race, or is it because he wasn't a nigga's guy?
But that speaks to the thing with Triple H with me. I think that
Booker was a Vince guy. He was treated fairly, and that goes back to the point of a meritocracy.
H has to have a black guy. I'm sorry, figure it out. Triple H need to find a black guy. I'm sorry, it's important. Yes, it matters. Triple H, you got to have a black guy on your roster, bro, that you care about.
Who, though? We're asking who? Me and you. Me and you. Bro, no. Me and you.
Listen, I want to be honest with you. If you pushed Carmelo all this time that he's been on the main roster, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I'm just saying that I'm not going to act like he should. He must have. It has to happen. That's why I'm like giving him a little grace. Whereas about Femi, I'm not giving you any grace because there's no excuse of size. There's no excuse of mic work. There's no excuse of working the ring.
So Booker sees that though. Booker's in the business. Booker has a promotion. Booker sees he trained Trick. He sees the talent. He's saying, "Hey man, and hey race, brother."
No, I get it.
It's just some of y'all niggas ain't good.
My thing with Booker is like, he said,
if Booker say y'all niggas ain't good, we'll kill him. We'll call him Coonery T, is what niggas would say.
What? Nah, I can't do that to anybody. I don't want to call anybody no coon. I think they have different opinions, and that's just what it is. And
that's what niggas would do.
Man can't be always on black men's side for everything. We have our own opinions on everything. I think Booker T has an older perspective, an old school vision of things, and I respect it. But I don't like when you're like, well, look at Kofi Kingston. He worked so hard. He became world champion. You think he wouldn't have got that without hard work? And I'm like, do you realize how he got that belt though? Like that was the fans demanding it. That was not like, oh, he works hard and they saw it and they gave him the title. No.
But that's the same with Daniel Bryan. He's an equal.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan and Kofi's an equal.
As an example
but that's what Booker's saying. Booker's saying, hey.
But how long did it take Bryan Danielson too? He came in way late after Kofi. So like it's.
We talking about this. We talk about a nigga that come and work hard that deserve it off of merit, nigga. That's what we talking about.
Champion back in 2000. What was that 9?
How when we talk about Jeff Hardy was bigger than Obama? What are we talking about?
Listen, I'm not. Kofi was big too. Like I
He
hope
was
you
not
don't
Jeff
like.
Hardy though, so that's what I'm saying.
It's
If we
not,
talk,
you're not comparing him to Jeff Hardy. You don't got to be as big as Jeff Hardy to be champion. There's
I mean,
Jack fucking champion. There's
yes,
someone
yes,
champion. You know?
I'm saying that, I'm saying that in a conversation of this, bro. When we're talking about, and I know you hate my comparisons of sports and stuff like that, but when we're talking about prototypical stuff, right? Jack Swagger was okay.
I just want to say this one thing.
Okay.
I'm talking about the Randy Orton angle where he got, where that they turned that, they pretty much said, all right, we're stopping your push. That's what I'm talking about. The fans were extremely hot. Maybe it wasn't 2009. I forget what year it was.
10 or
But
something like that. Yes, yes.
I'm not sure what year it was, but it was that time that it could have happened, but it didn't, So there is something to that of like having to just sit there and just keep working. And I mean, there could be. I'm not saying that it's like
Well, and
intentional. I'm not
I'm
saying
not.
it's like racism. They want these black people not to succeed. I'm not
No.
saying it's that. I'm saying that sometimes you got to look into that bias, I guess.
So okay, so and that's the nuanced conversation about it. There, we have to already we can't have it both ways and expect a bias from black people for support and not expect a bias from white people when they hold the
I don't know
power.
what you mean by that. Expect a black for black people for support. What do you mean?
So Swerve feels as if, and as you're saying, he's being attacked for having an opinion adverse to the majority of black. And it's like, where's the support? You just said like, nope. You said nobody. You said in the chat, you was like,
the chat, yeah. I was like everybody, but then it was Booker T's channel. So
yeah. So nobody supported Swerve.
They're different. I don't know.
But online is the consensus as well when we talk about Swerve, talk about the Black Wrestling Podcast top 50 black wrestlers, when there was not something highlighting black wrestlers, and they tried to do so, and they put Swerve on it, and Swerve said, I don't want to be on that list because don't pit me. His excuse was, don't pit me against other black. We're not pitting you. And then he was like, well, how you going to put me on the list? And this guy had this many So Swerve can't talk out of both sides of his mouth, and we can't hear what he say and not make it applicable when we. So I'm paying attention to that, and
I feel you.
And so
I think there's two different conversations. I think that Swerve definitely has an opinion on that list that I'm sure I would love to hear what it is today, but also his opinion about his experience lived in WWE and the experience he's heard from other black talent in WWE. As much as he had an issue with ACH when ACH went through what he went through. He also was an example of a guy being ostracized for something that was unfairly, done to him. Now, granted, he has issues. ACH did go off after that. That was like, I don't support everything he was saying. But the way he exited was kind of unfair. I said it on a pod. So it's like the black wrestlers are held to a different standard to some degree, And I think that the conversation of like List and his support for, black people and black people being treated they're attached, but they're kind of like a Venn diagram.
The question comes in the part of where he says, is it unfair? Well, I believe it's unfair. Is it unfair for you to speak behind, ill will of someone? You know what I'm saying? Is it because AJ Francis has spoke recently as a retort to the Booker T portion of it as well? It's like, it's not so much as black wrestlers are treated this way because, and I know and we hate about the whataboutism because the women have the same type of gripe, right? The Japanese wrestlers have the same type of gripe, being away from their family so far away, right? You know what I'm saying? The English or wrestlers with their accent can't get over as much, right? There is a bias placed in everywhere. So when when it's so exclusive to race, and Booker T is trying to, he received backlash. There was not a lot of support for Booker T when he said, because you had an opinion on it. You just said it, right? Like, no, we have to continue pounding the table as to when there are, and my thing now is that I just don't separate that to where it's merit and it's bias, because sometimes they do conflict, but not all the time, as we're seeing right now. Things are are shedding a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's just voicing like when you don't see a black man on a PLE for like 3 PLAs in a row, that's 3 months or 4 months where you don't see one. Yeah, voice your opinion. Like we have a right. If I'm paying for your PLEs, I can say that. Like and then Swerve brought that up. Like this is not just me saying this. This is your fan base and your audience saying
Correct. That's
and
correct.
he's voicing
that fan base.
what the fan base is. So why is there any problem with that? Like there's no when the people who are paying their tickets are saying, "Hey man, there hasn't been a black guy on our PLEs. Like maybe we should fix that." Then maybe that you should take it into account. Hey man, the Street Profits, man, they've been good, but you guys kind of like did nothing with them for like 2 years. Like maybe we should fix that. Now we're seeing them get some more traction. They're chat champions. I'm gonna support it. I'm gonna give it praise. Like that kind of stuff, is what I'm talking about. And I think that what Swerve says has merit to it.
That's correct, but I'm not saying that it doesn't. But what I am also saying is that we are talking about realistically black talent that are able to be TV ready, main event stars presented is few and far between. Just off of our knowledge right now of us wanting what we want, outside of Swerve doing on AEW, they're Okay, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Like I said, like that's their fault. Like they got rid of them. So like I really
saying that he goes from there to another one, and that's what I'm. So there's, I'm not. I don't want to pit. I'm not pitting because Swerve was the AEW champion. Swerve was the first black AEW champion. Tony has hired a lot of minorities. He has a lot of black. All I'm saying is that the presentation of black people on wrestling in general is scarce, and it's not so much due to the bias. It's just due to there's not a lot of good because Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin are on AEW right now. They are champions. They're on TV. And
yeah, but we're talking about like the history. I wasn't just talking about just today. Now, if we're just talking about today, yeah, I just told you I'll wait until Chuck gets called up and Oba gets followed and see what.
But I think that's what Booker was talking about. Like he knows about the history. He's a part of the history. I think that's what Booker was saying. Like the spring. Like can we? And that's what I'm saying. Right now, there's a lot of black talent, and we are both saying the same thing. I think when you say Swerve has merit to it, what I am saying is that at the same company that Swerve is in, Bobby, Shelton, and MVP is not perceived in the main event. They're on TV. And I don't believe that they won't be on pay-per-views like the other place, like WWE. But when me and you were when we were doing a podcast regularly, we were having the same conversation because you have been stand still on this point. Hey, I see it. I'm not going to not say anything about it. I see it, and I've been asking you. I've been aware outside of Carmelo and Street Profits. You like nigga find a place for them. I say okay. I say, but they're on TV. They're and you said that's not enough. And I'm asking you, when it's booming like it is right now, they will be forced into something. I say when you say,
I just remember, you know what it is. It was how they handled the Hurt Business, and then how they handled Bobby afterwards, and then how everything they did with that was like, I see what you're doing here. Like the Hurt Business, there's no reason why Shelton Benjamin can't be where Jey Uso is today, in my mind. I get it. Jey Uso is super hot. He's fantastic talent. But who's a better wrestler? Shelton Benjamin to me is a better wrestler. But when you look at the Hurt Business, it was so fire at the moment, and they said, you know what? Let's just throw this out the window.
Why are you making me do this, bro? Why are you making me do this, bro? Shelton can't talk out of a paper bag, bro.
Jay is not the best talker either, bro. He's had moments and he's gotten better. Don't get me wrong, but I think Shelton can get moments too. I think that the fans, if you give them the right story, like they give the right story to Jay, they bought into whatever Jay said after that. Once they give him the right story, we bought into. Even me, I got the shirt and everything. I was like, I'm gonna get him. Because you gave me a really good story with him. If Bobby and Shelton had a story, oh man, and Shelton was trying to like take the next step in his career. Like, I can't end my career without beating you and getting to the next level of the main event. That could be its own thing. That could have been a WrestleMania match. But they let go of all of it. They just took what was a hot act that was positive of black men in suits beating people up and making money for doing it, and just say, yeah, let's break it up, let's throw it out the window. Then they try to do the Pride with Bobby and the Street Profits, which is like you're kind of like trying to rehash a watered down version of what you had with the Hurt Business, and that didn't work either. And that's on them. That's a mishandling of black talent that was hot. It wasn't like they were falling off. They were at their peak, and MVP will tell you himself. Like, I don't know what happened.
But I think can't we have that same conversation of Enzo and Cass in a tag team division? Can't they never won a tag team titles? Can't we have that conversation in the women's division when Bianca never won the NXT Women's Championship in those fatal four ways and shit like that? Never beating Shayna Baszler.
I don't think that was it's the same. Like,
why is
during the pandemic was on TV every single week, was one of the main attractions on the show. Enzo and Cass is great. As great as the act they were not in that same position. And I think Enzo was a star in that facet. He ended up getting a concussion, came back, ended up going straight to the cruiserweight division and doing great work there. It wasn't like they were like, yeah, let's just sit him on the bench. You know, this is not like they made a choice to say, you know what, let's pour cold water on this hot group and we'll figure it out later. And they did it. And then
with the undertone of what is said is that with the undertone of where it is that they don't fuck with black talent.
I think that when black talent do what is necessary to get over and finally do it, we'll see what they do with Naomi. Naomi should be a women's champion, in my opinion. But when black talent do what they do to get over, I do think that there is some level of, yeah, not really. Let's not go with that. Where it's like we have other things. Oh, what about that thing over there? That shiny thing that I want to build over there. Let's get Austin Theory some more time on TV instead of getting Bobby Lashley. You know, like it's just shit like that. Like, as great as I love, Austin Theory is, he was young and he ended up getting a match with John Cena at WrestleMania, and that could have been Bobby. You know, like there's a lot of, or that could have been anybody. You know, that could have been.
But when we talk about it in a sports context, bro, and this is why I try to bring stuff. Do you build? We watch football. You're a great football person. You tend to get what you can get out of older players. You build and play your young talent, and you push older talent out. This ain't like basketball where you can hold on.
They're doing it right now. They're moving young, and I get it. Like, and I think even Swerve said something to the likes of, they have their favorite guys who, like, their first round draft picks that they got to get time, that they bet on. They're like, this is who I'm betting my stock. I'm paying you this much. All right, this is gonna be, and it's not working quite well, but that guy's killing it. We're not paying him as much. Let's keep him in the background. They don't look at it like, all right, let's swap. Let's make you a starter. Swerve was banging on the table to be a starter, and they finally gave him hit row event eventually, and it ended up working, And then they brought him to main roster and they let him go, So you might as well just have kept him in NXT if that's the case, So it's a real. I don't think they see the value in black talent until it's like undeniable, like Kofi, or undeniable like Biggie, where everybody's like, "Yo, give this guy a shot." Like for 5 years, we've been saying that for Biggie before he actually got his chance. Bobby the same way. It was mad long before he got his chance. He was pointing at his ass, even with all he got, the physique, the move, whatever. Bellator, they had him come here and had him pointing at his ass, and they still didn't give him a shot.
So what's your conversation on meritocracy or meritocracy? Because it isn't that anywhere, right? It isn't there in sports. It ain't that in Hollywood. It ain't that in music. There isn't that anywhere. So what is the main? Where do we go? Because as you say, we're fighting a
think
fight
that- I
that
think
doesn't
is
that we
we appraise when the right people get the right jobs and get the right opportunities, and we also point out when, hey, like we've been doing, this guy has been busting his ass. Maybe he deserves, just due, like we've done for Kofi, like we did for Biggie, like we did for, like we've done for even Swerve. And at a time where we're talking about him in NXT, like, yo, North American Championship right there. Like, why don't you make him champion? Like we were doing the same thing with Keith Lee. Like we see it before they do always, So we just got to keep talking. And obviously I don't talk on the podcast as much anymore, but people in general, I mean, in America, like whether it's your favorite artist who's an underground artist that you really fuck with, promote that guy, speak to that person. Whether it's that guy at the job who's kicking ass and he's making the most sales in the company, but they don't give him the hottest leads. Point that shit out.
But how would they know? And that goes back to it. And so, right, and for like like
a lot of the time, the person who works the hardest gets shit on the most. Be surprised they get the dirty work.
But that's not. Well, my thing is also, how do you, if there's a bias going into anything, which we know, if you go on, I don't, and I'm not saying it's right. Please hear me out. I'm not saying that it's right. But when you approaching, regardless of your talent, you already know you have to be standout. And you have to stand out amongst the mediocrity of a white person already. In those cases, when you say you don't think a black person can be seen unless it's undeniable, I think a black person doesn't get in a position to be seen unless they're already that. Keith Lee was undeniable, right? Yeah. Swerve was undeniable. ACH was undeniable. Wesley undeniable, right?
And then it worked out again. You start from the bottom.
Correct. But this goes back to my sports thing, right? 5-star means nothing in high school when you walk in, your number one receiver is Jeremiah Smith. Okay, I give a fuck what you did in high school. You did this nigga's the best, right? And then once you get past Jeremiah Smith, nigga, you got J Jets. That and like so. My thing is it when we're evaluating this talent, when we're evaluating this talent, they have to in some aspect, right? And we have those guys that's like, yo, he plays special teams, my nigga. Like why they got him fourth on the depth chart as receiver, nigga? Like he nice, nigga. Like we know, right? We done seen his high school and seen his college and draft tape. And yeah, the GM might have drafted him because he was on the board, but do they know? No? You know what I'm saying? And then you're like, well, why you draft him if you ain't got no plans for him? Well, he's best available on the board, right? Specs, match, I'm taking him. I might not have a plan for him. He has to get here and make me have a plan for him. Does that work in wrestling?
Yes and no, because some people, you've had a plan and then you ruined it. That, and I think that's where
Justin Fields.
You had a plan.
He's a number 3 overall draft pick. He's supposed and I look at that and I see that's why I make the trend. And is he a bust? People in the industry,
yes. Quarterback, no, he ain't no bust.
Exactly, nigga. You about to ride for this nigga.
Let's go.
But I have you say the nigga wasn't paired Jared Goff. This motherfucker got to go up and get the MVP. Oh. You see what I'm saying? So, but my thing is the potential of the talent.
Oh God,
nigga, yes,
the false MVP. Okay, yeah. All right, let's go.
But it's setting in though, right? The potential of that talent of Justin Fields, we see it if he's put in the right place, if somebody nurtures it, if he's given the right place to succeed.
Yeah, we're gonna see it.
Right time is like wrestling because they can write a great thing for him. They can put him in the right spot. And if we don't react to him or her, vice versa. If we react to somebody and they're not on that pay scale to be pushed, that is that is meritocracy that
No,
does not
it's
exist.
both, and like I said, like it's both. But at the same time, I can only speak to what I've seen in the past when it comes to black talent, and what I know are specific egregious things that I'm like, wait a minute.
Correct.
Even though you had the money, even though you had the fans chanting, it almost made them feel like we don't like that. We don't want that.
Because we
And
didn't
it's like,
create that. Well, I mean, but my thing is, anything that get put on TV though, they created. So
it's almost like
I don't know what the notion of is that they didn't like it. That's what I don't understand. That's hard for me to understand.
hard for me to understand too. But we know that even Swerve said from his own voice, like he had a great match. Vince came back, oh, good job. But then Sami Zayn was like, oh, he didn't like it. He hated it, even though it was a great segment.
AJ Styles said the same thing. AJ Styles and Chris Jericho WrestleMania match. They said that shit was horrible, and Vince was like, "You're fucking right, it was." so yeah, I can believe fucking.
But
nigga.
more than anything, to me, it was like it's not just what Swerve's been saying. It's what MVP has said. It's what other wrestlers I've heard in the past say, and it's how they like. Honestly, the Hurt Business is to me the hottest I've seen a black act since the Nation of Domination, and probably even more hotter than they were.
That's true.
And there was so much more they could have gotten out of it that I feel like, man, they did it on purpose. Just like when Booker T was the hottest thing in the world and him not winning against Triple H, they did it on purpose. And that's how I feel. And I'm not going to, I mean, that's how I feel. I'm not saying it's fact.
Well, yes. Well, okay. So now here's my thing, right? If I am running a company and someone gets too big for their britches for me, am I wrong for letting them go? I'm talking about me.
If you're running a company and somebody gets too big for their britches, what does that mean? I need to know what too big for my britches mean.
Like if I am putting you in a place to succeed, right? Because right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way the rapport back to me is as if we're equal.
And
if I say
talking to you that way, then yeah, you can let them go. But if it's not like, if they're like they're equal, as in like they're making you as much money as you would have made, like or they're making you as more money than you would make without them, then no. Like if they're making you more money and they're successful and also you're in an entertainment business and people love them, maybe you are.
And this is so. Well, the reason why I'm asking this and so right now AEW has we heard people that shit go. WWE kind of really don't do that. They don't do the licensing, like the jurisdiction. And I know you can say, well, Cody does it, and that's what we talk about, the comparison thing, right? Are you Cody to me, to the company? Like it's like as far as I let Cody have like the star players, right? We a lot of people talk about the treatment of what the star player. I get where
Let's be real, man. Like what they did with the Hurt Business is egregious. It's egregious. I think that you had a huge faction in the Bloodline, and you have a huge faction in the Hurt Business, and then you have other factions going out around that you can build a dynamic where there's a challenge or battle for power within WWE, and there's it's its own faction.
How you know?
I don't think they like the picture. This is my assumption. The picture of black men fighting for power in the WWE. I think it's an intimidating thing for some people. It's one thing if you're just, oh, that's my champion. It's another thing where it's like, oh, this is a equal.
But isn't that intimidating everywhere?
But yeah, but that's the issue. This is entertainment, bro. Why can't we have that story? It's not like they're actually gonna hurt people. Like they're the Hurt Business, but it's a story.
Well, hold on, and okay, so all right. Okay, now this is where I'm going to seem like the bad guy here. Okay, I'm not going to say you're wrong. You have a point. There's merit. I'm not disagreeing with you. What I would like to add to that point to make it a little further is no, that's not a bad thing, cheating. But if I don't identify with that, how am I made wrong for not identifying with that? There is not a big, large
I think that
gay
you try
wrestler
to
in the thing.
understand. I think that's the next. I think that's the next step for WWE. Is not just having a black champion, getting behind one, and like really getting behind one. Like not just like, hey man, during COVID, can you rock with us for a bit?
Is
No,
Bianca not that? Or are you talking about a black man?
a black man. I'm black man. Bianca is that. I would say so. I got to give him their props on that. But yeah, black man. I think that it's just never been a black man that they're like, yeah, that's our guy. That's our guy. And when we had it in Bobby finally, they're like, that's not really our guy. We got Roman, and the fans were like, yo, Roman, Hurt Business versus Bloodline, and we never got that, and that was right there to do that. And if the Hurt Business was like losing steam, I could be like, oh man, yeah, it was kind of getting stale, But
Okay.
no,
Well, philosophically, I can hear you. But what I'm asking you is that you say yes, we wanted it was right there, and when we talk about Tarantino and his jurisdiction creatively, when he writes what he wants to write, and he can write how he wants to write, and we set what we see on film. What I'm asking you is that when you say Shelton could have been Jey Uso, that was the story that they were telling coming out the pandemic. If like timelines are around the same thing, they could have pivoted. Yes, they have pivoted before. Yes, they did not pivot this time, and it looked and it felt a certain way. Going back to how we perceived what Vince did when he walked up and said, "What's up, my nigga?" and he walked past. Right, we have a larger right when we say it's not that deep. No, it is that deep. Well, because they have been telling us it's not that deep. Right? They've been telling us that, and we've been saying, nah, niggas, it's deep. Yeah. It's so deep that we've been watching that niggas ain't been on PLEs for 3 months.
I think it goes deeper than we believe and I wouldn't be this strong in my opinion if we didn't talk to MVP, and we heard his opinions on these things. He's been in the rooms with these guys, and I respect his opinion on it more than anything. I respect MVP, and we know he's a real dude. We've had him on our podcast. We've talked to this guy live and in person, and a friend of ours where we respect his opinion as an OG. And when the OG says, yeah, something fishy went down, I believe it. I'm sorry. And just because Booker T's like, well, that wasn't my experience, I can't be like,
yeah,
well,
but
the other OG,
Vince, that was Trips. But that's what I'm saying. That's not Vince. That's Trips.
The same kind of thing. Yeah, it's the same sentiment though. Like just because Vince didn't do this one, that was Trips. It's still the same sentiment of black people not being treated fairly, period, in the business.
Well, okay, so back to this sounds like we're going to circle. In a roundabout way, did he get treated fairly by Vince and the company? Booker T said yes. Did Hurt Business and Swerve and AJ and ACH and everything else? That is now a Triple H era. When we are, and I know now we're talking about the history of wrestling, but the history of wrestling isn't just, we're talking about Jim Crockett too. We're talking about we're talking about the history of wrestling where black
all
people.
All of it.
Yes.
Keep saying that.
Yes, I know that. But what I'm saying is the history isn't the present day.
Yeah, and the present day, there is no black men on the main roster that are worth that's getting pushed. That's a fact because Triple H decided to get rid of one of the hottest black acts. That's a real thing that happened present day.
Yes, but I just asked you a question. If it's not my bag, baby, why am I being condemned for not being my bag?
Triple H did not want to reform the group, so it's and then I know Swerve probably has talked to MVP about this too. So like when he says these things of like, yeah, black people are not being treated fairly, and I hear Triple H, I mean MVP talk where he has some real beef. I wonder what was fucking said. Like, I think it's deeper than, yeah, we just didn't have time, we just didn't have space. No, I think they were buried under the card, and I think that was intentional. Now, Bobby might be able to be a gentleman about it and get over it and move on with his life and make his bread in AEW. Booker T obviously was very successful, but these guys are OGs, and when one OG is saying one thing, that's his experience, and I respect it. We're in Booker T, where, hey man, you did it your way. Also respect MVP's outlook on things, and we had him on our podcast. We talked to him about, hey man, why is it this way? And guess what his conversation was? He's like, guys, you earn it, and he was telling us the same thing that Booker T said on our pod. But then you hear us talk now. Clearly, he advocated for you black men like we wanted him to. It worked. They had a great angle, and he ends up seeing how it went down, and he's pissed off about it. Something went down. And that's what I'm getting at. And I think that I'm gonna leave it there. I'm done talking about it because I can't talk to facts anymore.
But that goes back to what I'm saying is that the fact of the matter is that the fact is that they're not there. What I'm asking you is across of all of wrestling, that's just like when you have a quarterback and you let him go and everybody's like, why'd you let him go? Or when you look at the Dallas Mavericks and they say you trade Luka, why you let him go? They have information clearly, or something happened clearly that just fractured that relationship. But to go back to what I'm asking you about replacing that talent, there isn't an abundance of black talent that you can just say, we're going to fucking replace that.
Yeah. So not right now. We've established that, but I told you we'll wait and see.
Right. And I think that's the most fairest thing that we can do. And I think it's not to diminish anybody's experience. Swerve had his experience, Booker had his experience. But I think when we talk about when you say why bring up the past, I think if we continue, in Booker's mind, when you say old school mentality, if you continue to kind of rehash the past and we're building on it, does that not crack the foundation that we're building on? Logically, right? Because
say it one more time.
If when Booker is not so much dismissing the conversation about race,
okay,
but when you're saying when something of the past is being rehashed, if we're building on that past, does that not crack the foundation? Because what I'm saying is when Booker's saying the past that you speak of, I'm the one who laid the cement for there to be a room for a Swerve to walk into. Yeah. For Swerve to have the opinion that he has, I am the floor of which that opinion is based on.
That goes without being said. He didn't need to say all that. Because Swerve wasn't dissing him saying he was like Booker T ain't shit. Like it wasn't like he said Booker T's a coon. Like he took offense to it in a way that I thought was like, why? Why is it that? Maybe, and I'm not saying you can be offended to whatever you want, but when I saw what Swerve said, it wasn't like he took a personal shot at Booker T. Mm-hmm. He just said this is what an example of the guy who you're talking about saying that he's been treated fairly for 20 years. This is an example of him not being treated fairly, in my opinion. That's what he said, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I guess we'll have to. Okay, so to your point, right, or to our group chat, when it's a condescending tone of which I believe you spoke into, you are swerving this situation where I just said something and said it. And you're saying that it should not have been taken that way when I
and Booker T, and I take it somewhere and I respond. What I am saying is that when you say I studied film, I studied communication, and the receiver is the most important person in the path of communication. So how that is received and interpreted will then dictate the dialogue of the conversation, not so much the sender. And when
the conversation is going to go the way it is. I'm just giving my take on the conversation.
No, but
I'm
when,
not
not,
saying
but when, we
Booker T
speak,
can't feel what he wants.
when Swerve speaks upon it, and he believes there should not be any sensitivity into what he says, there should be a formality of I am watching what, as much as niggas say pause, right? You don't necessarily engage in that too much, right? You get mad at me all the time. You're like,
every
nigga,
now and then it's like,
but when you're just talking, when it's egregious, it's
all right, man, that's chill.
Yo. But I'm not saying that Swerve shouldn't have an opinion. I think the biggest thing is that when we are talking about now everything in totality of merit based, who is there available to be there? Again, when you said that should not go without being said, it feels that way to Booker T, which is why he said it. Right. And I don't believe that you speaking up on Swerve part negates what Booker T feels from what Swerve said. I know you feel
that's what I said. Like, he can feel whatever he wants, but I'm just giving my take on it. And I do believe that it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that, like, to me, I think, and I do think
what Booker T said that's made it bad. I mean, Booker T just had a retort.
Booker T had a retort that was very much combative. He's like, yo, I pulled up on him and he didn't have the same energy and all that stuff. And he was saying that I'm the one that paid the business for you. He's like, who are you? And I'm like, bro, he just said a fact. That is a fact. Booker T was around.
No, he didn't say the fact. The fact is that Booker T did not. The fact is Booker T was treated. Swerve didn't state a fact. The fact is that Vince said the N-word. That's a fact. Swerve had an opinion on something that Booker T deemed as a fact for himself, saying I was treated fairly. So that's what
he had the opinion. So, like, he's mad at Swerve's opinion.
Well, you just said Swerve spoke fact. So when you said is he mad at his opinion? Like, yeah,
it is a fact that Vince said that around Booker. That's the truth. And he said and he even clarified, it's my opinion that wasn't fair. That should not warrant Booker T to, in my opinion, let me be clear, in my opinion, it didn't warrant Booker T to get so offended.
But to me, when I saw the response, okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Booker T wasn't so offended. He was just offended and addressed it. He said, and so that's what I'm offended. No, I mean, listen, you said he was so offended. All he did to me.
Go back and watch the whole thing. You watched the whole thing?
I have it right here. Y'all watch it. He was, to me.
All right, play it.
I don't think he was offended. He
seemed like he even went to the fact that, I'm never gonna put him over. I'm not gonna do that anymore. Like, why would you not put him over anymore? Because he said that he feels like that wasn't fair. Like, really? Is it that personal now? To me, he seemed like it struck him a little bit. And it's not like he said, yo, Booker T's a coon for not saying nothing. No, he just said, in my opinion, that's not fair. And he's like, it's not just me, that's what the audience are feeling too. That is a very logical, sound, intelligent argument to make after the same guy said this weekend, yeah, I'm done with the whole race conversation. They've been fair to me for 20 years. His retort was, wait a minute. That's an example of this guy not being treated fairly. That's more of an indictment on the company, not Booker T. So you can play Booker T's response. To me, it was a little bit much for what Swerve said.
Well, okay, so when Rollins is online defending WWE and he's a flag bearer and he tell Ospreay he's a broke boy, is that him being so offended, or was that him just protecting his company and him having to?
Wait, repeat that. Say it one more time.
When Rollins is online on Twitter and he's retorting Ospreay and calling him a broke boy, because he's like, let's compare pockets, and because the subjectiveness of being the best wrestler in the world comes up, and Rollins says, I'm better than you because I'm on a grander stage. And Ospreay's argument is like, no, I travel around the world. I am the world's greatest wrestler. When Rollins defends and he's the flag bearer for WWE, we call him a company man. Booker is being a company man. I'm not saying that Booker's wrong for being a company man either, but I'm also saying that Booker T is also speaking to a fact about him.
You can defend it all you want, but at the same time, what Swerve said to me still doesn't warrant a response, because you can still respond in a way that understand that you're having an intellectual conversation or dispute with somebody that is not like, oh, well, who are you? And, you know, and pretty much being super defensive. Play the clip. Like,
I'm about to play it, bro, because I don't think he was that defensive. I don't think he was that defensive.
Maybe you didn't see the whole video because this is 7 minutes. There was a lot more that I saw, but go ahead.
All right, hold on.
So it's not just me just talking out of my ass out of nowhere. It's what your audience has been complaining about for the better part of like 2-3 years from not seeing black talent even getting single matches on PLEs and stuff like that. It's not.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's the clip. So he was referring to a time on the show where there was some questions about, you know, Swerve Strickland, and did AEW overpay for him? WWE thought they paid him over market value, and Swerve, I think, was on the Breakfast Club and was discussing, you know, his WWE run and lack thereof. And I believe you said something regarding I'm trying to figure out what he's talking about. I'm black, so I'm just trying to understand if something happened to him personally. Maybe he should have thought he should have been a bigger star in the WWE. I hate we're still talking about this race thing. I've been working for the company for a long time, and I know I've been treated fairly for 20 years.
Verbatim,
so that was
verbatim. That's exactly what I said. And I don't think you're going to find anything in that statement right there negative.
Is that now that's not the one we're talking about, right? That's not the clip. That's not the response.
I mean, you can fast forward. He gets more heated as it goes on.
But with the race thing, did you have a problem with that? When Booker T said that, did you have a problem with that?
To be honest, this whole situation, I think it's overblown, to be quite honest. But when he said that, I was like, tracks for Booker T. Like, he still works for WWE, and I don't think he, understands that other people are not having the same experience. But he's just telling his experience. So do I have a crazy problem with it? No. But it's like, I expect that from Booker T. Like, it's not like.
But you compared him to Unk. Unk was on Shannon and Skip. Unk had a persona of being Unk. Now Unk got a persona of being like Booker T, and I don't think they the same. Because Booker T ain't never been Unk. So I'm trying to see.
To me, Booker T is the Unk of the wrestling business. I do think so. I think I'm not saying they're exactly the same, but
correct.
I do think that Booker T is the OG. I think Booker T is the wise man, and I said that they're similar in the old aspect of working hard and just working hard and going home and paying and getting your check and going home, and like that's it. Like if you got your check, you're good, regardless of what you had to endure. Or regardless of whether things were fair or not. You're getting paid. Just shut up and do your work. And if you ain't getting it, it's probably something that you're doing. If you're not getting what you deserve, it's probably something that you're not working hard for.
So we're talking about meritocracy. That works for them too, though, right? They're also speaking about their experience and the culture of what they grew up in. Because Shannon was a 7th-round pick. Booker T went to jail. Essentially, the niggas that they grew up to be, that we know them to be, they are anomalies. So
then they like, you can do it too, and
exactly.
When you're doing it. So I think that's a lot of what I get from them, and a lot of older people in general are like, the young generation are not working as hard, and that's why they're just complaining and want everything for that we worked hard for. And in some ways they're right, and in some ways they're just kind of out of touch. Sometimes I'm not saying that he is, but I'm saying that sometimes the old generation can do that.
Right. So that's what I was trying to put contextualize the race thing, because when you say when we started the conversation this morning, it was like, I knew where your stance was. I don't agree with Booker T on this stance. So when you have an opinion about me and you're like, oh, I'm surprised, I'm shocked, that's what pissed me off. That's what
So
got
all I
me.
said is that he's gonna take the opposite of whatever I say. That's all I knew, and it wasn't like a shot at you, bro. It
But I
really
understand.
wasn't.
But this goes back to what I'm trying to say about Swerve and Booker T when we said it's not as deep. Yes, Swerve didn't say nothing as bad. No, you didn't say nothing as bad. But if somebody interprets it, then the conversation needs to be had. Now, I was also confrontational as well.
Swerve got asked a question, guys. Like, let's be real. Swerve didn't like see his comment and come on Twitter and say, "Yo, what? You didn't say that?" You know, when
question too, though, and that's correct. That's why the correlation matters to me. I didn't. You were asked the question and you're giving your opinion about something. That's why the correlation matters to me when you say I just say something and it's in the ether, and then I'm saying like comedically when Booker T says I'm not really. I've been a part of a lot of satire stuff. I got beat up in a grocery store and milk poured all on me and shit like that. I was in a boogeyman shit and I had worms poured on. I ate worms and shit like, you know what I mean? Like I've been a part of a lot of. I know it's not the same thing. Comedic satire stuff. I don't know if what you might. That's what I'm saying. He speaking on his experience and fact, and we have an opinion on that. And you saying there should not be an issue with that, and I'm saying correct. Have your take. But what I'm saying is that when your take is then now interpreted and received, then you cannot be like, whoa, where did that come from? Well, it came from your take. That's what I'm saying. So when Swerve is like, when you say, I hope this gets squashed, from what I heard, Booker T saw him in Virginia, which we were playing the clip. He saw him in Virginia and he said, I put him to the side. And I was like, hey, man, what's this about? And clearly Swerve did not have that same Vlad TV energy. He did not.
That's what he said, but that's like still like.
What were you trying to say?
On some contentious shit. That's not like some OG pulling him aside like, yo, let's talk it out. If you listen to the whole podcast, later on he goes into like, yo, I put you over. You know, I did this.
Yeah.
I'm never doing that again. I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, he put him over. Yeah, I put him over.
Like he took
offense to
it so much.
Let's give some more context.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me play some more context because Swerve Strickland actually did make history in AEW as becoming the first black AEW champion. We discussed that on the show, and here was your reaction to that.
I'm a big fan of Swerve Strickland, man. I saw him in Ashford a couple of months ago, and him and I, we networked a little bit. Then, but see Swerve Strickland become the first black champion over in AEW is really, really, really awesome. I was listening to him just this morning how, Kofi Kingston just won it not too long ago, and now he's winning it. That just lets you know the generational gap. Like when I won it, then it was so, like when Ron Simmons won it, then it was so many years before another one won it, then it was so many years before another one won it. This shows progress, in professional wrestling. So for me, I'm all down with Swerve Strickland being the world champion, not just because for anything from a showpiece perspective or anything like that. This dude is really that damn good inside the square circle. He deserves to be the world champion. I'm a big fan.
So that was what you said regarding Swerve's.
But my thing is like, what's the big deal? Like, yeah, he put him over as he should, but why is he offended that he mentioned that moment? Well, are you ashamed? And my thing is Booker T ashamed of that moment? Is that what it is?
Bro, why wouldn't it be? What is your visceral reaction to that moment? Why wouldn't he be ashamed of that when you are looking at him? He's the black man in that situation, and you're probably thinking, why didn't you say something about it?
I think it's more of an indictment on the company. I keep saying that. It's more of I think the company put Booker T in a very tough position, and he had to do his job. That's what I believe. Although it's an example of what Swerve's saying, it doesn't mean that now Booker T has to take it so personal and be like, yeah, man, I put you over. I don't got to do that anymore.
No, he took it.
Problem with me.
The personal thing, and if you can't compartmentalize, and I think that's the compartmentalization of this is this, right? You said, is he ashamed of it? Let's just go down there. Yes.
Maybe that's why he feels this way.
Bro,
he's not saying that.
Okay, why would I if the company has made right by me afterwards? If you're going to talk about the situation at all,
if you're not saying, hey guys, I was ashamed of that, we shouldn't have done it. That's all you gotta say. Swerve might have a point that maybe I shouldn't. That was unfair to put somebody in a position, but the company has grown since then, and they made it right. There's ways to still say that, but what he is instead of turning the looking at it for what Swerve said as face value, he's now saying, "Oh, you're calling me out." That's what he's taking it as, and I don't see that.
When Swerve does that, when Vlad tosses that fucking alley to him, and Swerve, do I need to rewind? And that's what I'm trying to say, bro. Your tone, how you say things, your body language matters.
Booker T
matters.
Talked about
not
his
Booker T,
interview.
To me. I'm saying to me. I'm looking at it, and I'm not saying it from Booker's point of view. From my point of view, when Swerve said it, he was taking a pop shot at Booker T. I took it that way.
Replay it.
Okay, hold on. Here we go. Let me see that. Hold on. Let me see that.
And then I gotta go. You've been here for a minute.
Let me see. Where? Oh, here it is. Here it is. The facials, everything.
For a long time, and I know I've been treated fair for the last 20 years.
That's not what happened when Vince said the N-word in front of you. That's not being treated fair. My opinion. And to that statement, it's not even what I'm saying. I'm saying what people are saying. I'm saying what your audience is saying. So it's not just me just talking out of my ass out of nowhere. It's what your audience has been complaining about for the better part of like 2-3 years from not seeing a statement. It's not even what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Here we go.
TV. So it says Swerve responds
for the company for a long time, and I know I've been treated fair for the last 20 years.
That's not what happened when Vince said the N-word in front of you. That's not being treated fair.
That I'm not talking after. I'm not talking about the PLEs and everything like that. That's not what happened. That's not what happened when Vince said the N-word around you. Is that treated fairly?
Is that a shot?
Bro, I'm telling you, I took it and so when Booker responds, that's why I'm sending it to you in the group chat in the morning, because I'm like, Booker responds to a shot that Swerve sends at him. I'm thinking it's a shot.
Do you still think it's a shot?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, then we disagree. All right.
When
because there's nothing that he said, if you look at it at face value, that's wrong. Or
nothing
like
that Booker said anything either. When Booker responds and says about the 20 years.
Booker in the Reality Wrestling podcast yesterday got personal with him. He did.
Yes.
He said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm not putting you over anymore." He said, all this stuff that's personal. Swerve didn't say anything personal in this. He said, "That's not fair in his opinion," and he just like, yeah, that's that's what he thinks.
Hold on. The tone that you just said as a writer when we were talking about Tarantino and advancing the script and advancing the story.
Yeah, if you say something, if I'm saying something to somebody else in an interview, and then I'm going by my business, and then somebody's like, "Yo, Chris just said you were lying." I'm like, okay. So like I move on my day, and then I have another interview, and like, "Yo, remember when Chris said you were lying?" I'm like, "Well, this is the same dude was there when it happened." Like, so what's the big deal? Like, he knows, so I don't think that's, if I said, "Yo, that nigga Chris he's a liar." Nah, he don't know what he's talking about. That's a little bit more personal. But if I say, "Yo, no, Chris was there when it happened. He knows it's true." And there's proof of it online. Go check it out. It's a video. And then you're gonna say a shot. If a hit dog hollers, and I think that's what Booker T is doing.
Yes,
hit dog. Yes, it is embarrassing.
But this goes back to now. That's what I'm trying to say. In a structure where we are saying currently now, it is still few and far between. Back then, it was like that worse. What I'm saying is that yes, it stings when you say that, my nigga, because you are going to feel the exact same way moving away from these spaces that you're comfortable in because you are trying to move and do things outside of wrestling. You're comfortable in this space, motherfucker, because I laid the foundation. I ain't never been in fucking movies. I ain't never been in music. But guess what? When you get there, you're going to experience some motherfucking shit. And you going to be the OG in 20 years telling the motherfucker to take it because, nigga, it's 300 mil over there, bro. And I got to do it because it ain't no other. When this nigga Swerve say I only got 5 years in wrestling, where the fuck he about to make some money at? In places where a motherfucker might call him nigga.
Oh my God, are we gonna really go there? Like,
no, hold on. What? That's what Booker T. That's what Booker T was. If you're gonna,
Swerve is gonna handle it the way Swerve needs to handle it, whether it's leaving or not. But Booker T, it's not that. It's not. You don't gotta go that far. Saying, well, guess what? Well, I hope that when you're in a position where
it's as far as Swerve took it. When Swerve said, "How'd you handle it?"
Swerve brought it up because it was relevant to the conversation of black people being treated fairly. Booker T, if he's being honest about himself, there's no need to say, well, if you're in Hollywood, somebody might say nigga around you. Like, nigga, that's so defensive and childish that I can't even put my mind around the thought process of that.
When Booker T speaks about all I'm saying is that Swerve did not double down and say, well, that's not my experience when I was there, like he did on the Breakfast Club. He brought up another nigga's experience who already deemed it fair and had an opinion on it. That's what all I'm saying is. I'm not saying Swerve don't have a point.
I hear you. Maybe he could have made the same point. Maybe he could have made the same point in a different way without bringing a Booker,
and that's why Booker took a shot. That's why Booker see that. You could say it without bringing me in it.
But he's the one. But he's responding to Booker T talking about him.
But hold on. This is what. Okay, when Booker put Swerve over as being a champion,
he minimized his whole race talk. He did.
When MVP, our guy has done the same thing too in interviews. And what I'm trying to say is, they asked MVP about black champions and Bobby Lashley about black champions. Bobby Lashley did it with Chris Van Vliet, I think it was, or whatever the case may be. And he said, I'm trying to get to a space when we ain't saying black champion. It's just champion.
I want people to realize, newsflash, everybody watching, whoever watches this, there will always be black champions. I'm sorry, Bobby, it's not going to ever happen. It's always going to be a thing where we're going to be saying woman, man, black, white. It's going to matter. This is the world we live in. I'm sorry. I'm not going to ignore what's really right in front of my face. So when a kid grows up and he says, hey, you know what, there hasn't been a black champion in 10 years, they're going to notice. I'm sorry.
If you're going to...
Let's stop living in La La Land. When we notice, we can call it out and see if it changes. That's all we can do. All Swerve is doing is saying, hey, man, this is an example with that guy that said that, you know? So maybe we have a different opinion. I don't look at it as a shot. I think that Booker T is embarrassed and he got real sensitive about it, in my opinion. I do. Because at the end of the day, it's a fact. If you're so mad that he brought it up, then maybe it shouldn't have happened. Maybe that's a point to what he's saying.
What you mean, maybe, bro? Okay, and that's what I'm trying to say.
You're gonna say like, "Oh, Swerve should have changed the way he said that."
No. But this is my argument of how you can have it both ways. When you say, I hate when people. If you can't say this is the world that we live in, how can't you say this is the world that we live in, and then understand that there was a time in the world in 2007 we were still saying FAWGOT.
No. Listen, I already said to you a million times, it's not an indictment on Booker T. It's about the company.
I'm not saying, no,
the reason why I'm saying this is that I do understand what you're saying. Just because we did that doesn't mean we can't call it out today. Like, yo, you used to say that F word back then. That was unfair back then. If somebody said that, like, about gay wrestlers, that was wrong. We can still say that in an interview with Vlad today, and I wouldn't have a problem with somebody saying that.
But what I am,
and it was normal, maybe back then. But we can also recognize that, yeah, I'm not gonna say that we need to freaking fire, you know, Booker T or fire, you know, Triple H, whoever, condone or fire John Cena because he was in it. No, I'm not saying like that. I'm just saying that, yeah, it was a different time, but these things happen. We can bring up the past. Just because you're embarrassed by it doesn't mean that somebody can't say this happened and it's an example of what I'm talking about. I don't think there's a problem with that.
But the example that okay, but you would, if you were trying to hammer home a point, you would use, when I do the whataboutism, you hate that. You're supporting
because your whataboutism don't be
you're supporting it right now. When Swerve is on the Breakfast Club and they're talking about him and his release and everything like that, him going and doing what he's doing at AEW. And then Vlad and then Booker T responds about it. It was like, hey man, I don't know about this race thing. Even Booker T said it. It may have been his experience, but in my experience, I was treated fairly in 20 years.
Yeah, we've already established that.
But when Swerve says in the interview and double down on the Breakfast Club, we don't have this conversation. Booker T will not respond because what I'm trying to why would Booker T respond to something? And you're saying, why would Booker T respond to something if it's not addressed to me? When Vlad says it treated fairly, Swerve, like I said, when I was there,
I gotta go in a little bit because I got some work to finish, but I'm gonna leave it here. Booker T can respond however he wants to respond, and he can feel however he wants to feel. But in my opinion, Booker T, I think, might feel some shame about that situation and doesn't like when it's brought up. But if he goes back and watches it, Swerve does say in his opinion that that's not fair. It's an example of something that happened to Booker T. So when Booker T says 20 years of everything being fair, that's a contradiction to that. And that's why he brought it up. And that's not, and then to me, that's not wrong.
Okay, but so we can end it like this, and I'll put it like this. When we have what happened with us, family, whatever my thing, it's unfair to the whole thing. I do feel embarrassed about that, of why it didn't work out. So when it's brought up, I do feel some type of way about it when it's brought up, no matter the context of when it's brought up or how it's brought up, because I am embarrassed about the context of it all. I worked through it,
but I can hear you. I hear where you're coming from.
I think you can fill in the gaps where I was putting too much business out on the streets and stuff like that.
Okay, we'll just end the pod, but somebody, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, because I felt when I hit you direct and I say I feel some type of way about something.
Okay.
You say I just said it. I didn't mean it though. I just said it.
Okay.
In all actuality, it's hard for it to be left right there when you say.
What happens after that is men have conversations like me and you did.
Correct.
And we advance from there and say, "This is what I meant by that," and then give Swerve the opportunity to say, "Hey, man, this is what I meant by that."
I don't think Swerve did it in Virginia. That's not what Booker T's saying. And that's why I said, unfortunately, it may have to go around because Booker T's giving.
At the end of that, I want to land on that. I want to land on reconciliation. I want them to get there. Maybe it hasn't happened yet. Maybe if you're in this business going on, you don't have the time to really sit down and tell somebody like exactly what you feel. It's like, yo, we'll talk. Maybe you just like, yeah, and like, yo, that's how I felt. And you don't even have to gather your faults because you're thinking about something else. I'm not gonna hold that to Swerve right now.
LeBron situation. LeBron says,
guys have each other's number and can call each other up and just say, hey, listen, man, bro, OG, this is what I mean by that. And yeah, your experience, and it's true. Booker T's experience is not every black wrestler's experience, and it also is not just because they're not working hard. So let's just leave it at that. But I hope more than anything is that they let these be an example that all black people are not the same and think the same or have the same experience. And at the same time, we should be able to have conversations like men without having to dog each other publicly. I don't think Swerve dogged him, but I can see how maybe just the fact that it was brought up was taken a certain way. And now it's on Swerve to confirm.
Race is not going nowhere. That's the overarching thing.
Thank you. Race ain't going nowhere.
That's the
neither is some like like sexuality and all that stuff. So when we say we don't want to say the first woman or the first man or the first black nigga, shut up. That stuff matters because it matters to the generation that's growing up watching people that look like them doing great things and looking up to them. In my opinion, it matters. Doesn't mean that it's like as big of a deal as it used to be, where it's like a crime, where it's like the civil rights movement, where we weren't allowed at all. Like it's the first ever we weren't literally allowed to do certain things. But at the same time, these things matter. Like, you know, like if I have a daughter and I can say, yo, check out Bianca Belair kicking ass, you know, you're gonna have a daughter soon, and you can be like, yo, check out Bianca, and it's gonna be a beautiful thing. That matters. That representation matters. And it's okay to say she's the first black woman to do a main event WrestleMania. Yeah, it matters.
That's true.
You
And
can too.
I don't want to argue. I don't want to argue that that's not true, but I do. And I think the thing of when you say Booker T was in, yes, that's the overarching thing, is that he endured something that we all know, and that's why I said in satire and in comedy, that's why I use Tarantino and try to use art form and creative to spur that conversation, because we have people, when we see movies and when we see commercials or we see whatever, and we're like, man, a black person went in that room. Like we can tell the representation is not, and it matters.
Especially it matters. It's different with sports. Sports is physical, especially when there's somebody making a decision. This is,
yes,
we all know somebody's in there making a decision to do these things, and that's when like, yo, wait a minute, something's up.
Well, so sports, you can't say that. Everybody's making a decision. We're talking about GMs to picking and who gets Russell Wilson with a reputation, or Justin Fields, or
like there's a lot of money. Like Shannon Sharp, undrafted free agent who can make the Hall of Fame if you put the work in. And a lot of times in other places where somebody's making a decision, no matter how good you are, you're not going to get that look. Whether it's acting, whether it's music, whether it's wrestling. Come on now. So that's what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to leave that there. And I want in the long run for us black men to have these conversations with each other and squash things, because we do need to support each other, regardless of us taking something sensitive, you know, and being in a place where we might have taken something more personal than maybe it should have been taken.
Yeah, I think Booker T is wrong when he says he's not going to support Swerve or, you know, uplifts Swerve.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I do believe like that's too far, but I think if you don't bang with him, that's fine. But if he does something, you have to acknowledge it. I do believe you have to acknowledge. You can't just be like, if Swerve wins the championship again, my nigga, like you can't be like, well, on to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
come on, man. You can't just
you can't be spiteful, my nigga. You know what I'm saying?
Before we get on, let's show some love to our comments. How do you feel about John and Cody?
I think they're moving in the right direction. Realistically, I don't not like it. I do believe
that's a great one.
Bro, everything is moving so fast. Everything is just realistically, it was a long time from Elimination Chamber. I think 6 weeks was a very long time. I think they probably should have just made that a show and spaced it out. I don't know.
Like Saturday Night made event in the middle.
Yeah. So some should have happened because because John could have won the thing. I'm sorry, John could have won the Elimination Chamber, or I saw somebody else say John could have won the Rumble, and Uso could have won the Chamber and had it that way. And then, you know, Cena could have turned at that aforementioned Saturday Night main event to kind of space it out, where it could have been good guy, boom, turn, and then we got the.
I'll be honest with you, I like it, but my biggest issue is that John Cena's in the main event, but this is the last time we're going to see him before WrestleMania. Like, he's not going to be on television until WrestleMania. So is it enough to build the angle? For me, I think there's a lot more story to be told, and I wish there was more that they gave us in the time that he was here. But I loved his promo. John Cena's been killing it on the mic since he's been heel, and I think Cody held his own against him.
Yeah, the promos have been good. I think the premise of the feud has been iffy. I think that's what I said is not. That's why I said like the premise of it, because if Cena's trying to sell his soul to get 17 to be the greatest of all time because he doesn't have it, he's been losing it, he lost a step or whatever the case may be, I would have bought that. And like we said, being in the pocket, The Rock could have made it happen. You know what I'm saying? He could have referees in his pocket. He can do the whole screw. There's a whole thing they could have did, but they didn't do it. So yeah, it's not that it's not that it's not the best. I mean, it's not that it's not the worst, but it's not the best. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely not the best it could be, but it's not the worst at all. Exactly. Real quick before we get up out of here, another thing I want to ask you: should Seth Rollins turn heel? Because I know me and Rich were talking about it on our group chat before we got up on here. What do you think?
I said it, and you disagree with me, Mister Somebody. No, you. I'm sound. So you are so writer fire, and I'd be like, and when you say
I should be in the writing room, I'm just saying,
clearly not if you are adverse to what everybody seems to think is going to happen.
No, I don't want to just give everybody what they think is going to happen. That's no fun in that. I want to give everybody something that's like, oh, I did not see that coming. Like what they did with the New Day and how they turned heel, did not see that coming, even though we all knew something was going to happen. I thought that was brilliant. So now everybody's predicting, oh, Seth's going to turn heel.
In this thing, everybody.
Now it's the perfect time to change that.
Well, in this thing, though, again, it's Paul Heyman, Roman, and CM Punk, right? The whole thing about Rollins being a Heyman guy, for me, because I was the one who defended it, I said that Rollins has never not been smimey. He's never not been a manipulator.
So there's no point in turning him heel.
Well, yeah.
Everybody's talking about it. Like, why would you do that?
Why did Roman need Paul Heyman?
That was unexpected.
Why did he need him?
Honestly, it just made him more powerful as far as in the turn. It made the turn official.
So Rollins can't learn at the teeth of Heyman, a nigga who has been a leech of the rust and has got and manipulated whatever the fuck he's wanted for damn near 30 years.
Like I told you in the group chat, they can make it work. I'm not saying that it's like a bad. It's like it's absolutely the worst thing they can do. No, I'm just saying that I wouldn't do it. I don't want it to happen because I think it's too predictable.
What would you do, and what would you do?
I would turn heel. We'll turn CM Punk heel, and let that be the favor. I think there's a lot more storytelling they can do with CM Punk as a heel. And to be quite honest, it's the manner in which he has to turn heel. I will make it.
Ain't that predictable? Paul Heyman turning on. Ain't that predictable? Paul Heyman turning on somebody else to be with somebody else. He's done that.
I mean, maybe not. Maybe don't turn anybody. But if I'm going to turn somebody, it'll be CM Punk. Or be unpredictable. Roman just beating them clean. Is
that unpredictable, or is that Roman using the stroke that we talking about?
But
hey, fuck meritocracy because I don't do this, brother.
Yeah, I think CM Punk just proving everybody wrong. Well, proving Seth Rollins right for everything, because right now Seth seems kind of crazy about how he's so trying to prove who CM Punk is. What if and CM Punk said it the first night he was there. He's like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. And maybe the play is to get back with Paul Heyman to make more money by helping him using him to become the champion again.
Rollins undercuts Punk to beat the Heyman because he just can't have Punk.
Then I need questions answered. Like, why would Heyman turn on his best friend? Then we can answer that, and that could be the story, and that could work.
Right, because the whys will be there, and the simple fact is that you get a lot more. Listen, a babyface Zayn and a fucking heel Rollins as to why when Jey Uso wins the championship, Rollins with fucking Heyman on the side to get back to getting the championship that he lost only because of injury and stuff like that.
Don't even need that shit, though.
But what I'm saying is that again, Heyman turning on a Hawaii family after he pledges his allegiance to it. Like, nah, I mean, god damn,
Seth, all people.
That's like, what makes it.
It doesn't like fit like a glove, you know. And I don't think that he should turn, even if it's not yet. Like, if that's the case, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
All right, man. I know you gotta get to work, and I appreciate the talk, but yeah, I think that, like you said, and also we have to stop with it's not that deep. Let's do that. Like we can. I'm gonna end. You ended on something. I'm gonna end on this. We can't say it's not that deep, especially if I bring it to you, because as men, we all know that shit. We'll let shit go, and we don't. If we don't care about it, we won't talk about it. Right?
Yeah, I feel like it's not that deep means like to me, I'm like it's not that personal to me. That's what I mean by when I say I'm not. You know, it's not that. It's not. I don't mean that. I'm not characterizing you as a person when I say that. You know, like when I said something, it's not like I'm saying I'm not trying to call you out. You know, like I'm just not that human being. That's how I look at it. But yeah, because sometimes you'll hear people will hear something and think of so many things in their mind, and like that's what this person said and meant behind the words. And it's like, no, I just meant the words that I just said, just on face value. That's what I meant. Actually.
Right. And when niggas be like, "What's your face value, nigga?" Because my value is the face.
What?
I mean, my face is the value. I'm sorry, that's what I meant. My face, I said that my value is the face. My face, when you say it's on face value, nigga, no, nigga, the value is my face, cause like you say on face value.
Oh my goodness, man.
No, but I think that's too, like you say, being able to be men. So now it goes back to the Andrew Schultz, Ryan Clark situation, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna tap in and see what that is. Schultz said something. Ryan took offense to, like, wow, black women, nah, nigga, you tripping.
Yo, it's the same thing that we're having. Yo, I'm dead ass. I listened to it.
What's the point?
It's like today we're having the same conversation in like 3 different places. Me and you, Booker T and him, Schultz and Ryan. It's the same conversation of just misunderstanding. I think it really comes down to, you know. But more than anything, I hope everybody just squashes any type of beef and understand that we're stronger together as men in general, whether no matter who, black, white, whatever, and just keeping ourselves in a positive mind state. So, like I say all the time, all is love, everything is wrestling. Hopefully we can do this at WrestleMania, man. We'll see, you know.
Yeah, man. I think and two, like you said, the convert to what you said in the converse, meaning it's in the universe, something must be happening where conversations need to be had, and the mindset of confrontation restricts conversation because a lot of people don't like to run into that, right?
Somebody has to have grace, because if you take it a certain way and somebody takes it the other way, the second time you say something, they can just keep moving further away. If somebody takes the disrespect a certain way and then they're like, oh well, I take that disrespect a certain way when I didn't mean it in the first place, that's disrespect. Well, now we disrespect each other both times, you know, like, and we both taking it the wrong way, you know. So just have some grace for one another. Have fun watching WrestleMania in the weeks coming up. I will be down there, bro. I will see how it goes down. I'm not sure how it's going to work out. Huh? I don't know, because certain money didn't come in, but I will be down in the city of Vegas, and I'm going to try my best to see if I can get in there. It's going to be hard, but we'll see, because the tickets are outrageous.
What was the ticket price? Like $150 or something like that?
Bro, it's up there, bro. I gotta look again, but last time I checked, I was like, funny.
Now that this shit gonna be on goddamn Netflix, nigga, like, god damn.
Yeah,
I love this shit. I'm pulling it right now, just as we talk, just bullshit as we talk. I'm just pulling it right now. It's only $50.
Word?
$47.90.
Okay, I gotta go check that again. All right, guys.
for general admission.
I'll holler at y'all. Wait, that's for night 2?
That's for that's for Wale Mania, not WrestleMania.
No, I'm not talking about Wale Mania. I'm talking about WrestleMania.
Oh, I'm talking about Wale Mania. You know that's.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to see if I can get there.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. All right, brother.
All right, holler at you, man. Peace out.
All right, man. Nice to see you, man. Peace.